Satélite.
I met the people in the Semefo in 2008, and at the beginning I simply went through the regular authorities channels of the spokesman of the city of Schwarz, and at that point I think they were letting people to come once or twice to photograph, especially non-Mexican journalists, and then I think I made a strong connection, and I started to film, and I kept coming back, and eventually it was really the peritos themselves that and the head of the Semefo that once the city authorized it, they stayed with us and they let us film. There was a lot of things we couldn't film, and we can only be with certain parts of the unit, but with them we were very free, and was Richie to talk and to ask things we want and to follow them. We didn't follow into very specific cases and didn't want to put anybody into danger beyond that, but just to get them more the atmosphere in this Semefo, in this unit. And thank you. I think trust is always, with a documentary film, was your main subject is getting trust. I think with Richie and the Semefo people, the trust was like that they really understood that this is more a portrait of their environment and how it's hard, but not an investigation, or not something that's going to be against them or digging into a private case, but more about what it means to be in their position and the feeling of Juarez expressed from them. So I think again, it's a very personal trust, and they saw that what I'm not after what they weren't. I think they felt safe. And with Edgar and the band and that environment, I think, again, a long relationship, 2 years, lots of trips, and I think they wanted to show what they're used to being in front of camera, but not in a documentary, and they wanted to open up and show what it's about. And it was also a lot of trust till they kind of show their contacts and who they're singing for. And, but like any doc, it's really a lot of time with your main characters. I think they do. Unfortunately. I think I can understand why almost. I think if it's La Moda and opportunities and places are so rare, and people see this as this untouched power and this way to be glorified, and I think a little bit like Sangda Rodriguez, that we don't really understand how much it affects people that it's, why I was really surprised in the beginning to see children saying, oh, I want to date a narco, I want to have this. But it's just become a part of Mexico, and it's something I've heard this in Sinaloa and in other places like that. It's like you used to want to have a lawyer or a doctor, and now it's a narco in a sense. And I know it's a generalization. It's not true for many people, but I do think that the songs and this kind of acceptance of it and celebration of it pushes young people particularly to want to try it, to want this, to glorify it, and to actually step into that kind of life. I understand them. When I first saw the band, when I first ran into this world, I hated it. I was shocked, I was angry. It happened in a day. I was in Tijuana, and the same day I was photographing murder scenes, and I went across the border and saw this the first time, and I was like, wow, how could people just here 1 hour north of the border party? And so but I think to American Mexicans, it's a way to connect to Mexico, and a lot of people kind of want to play narco for a night because at that age they connect. I think it's silly. I think, like I said before, that it can also push people more in Mexico also a little bit into the life because of this glorification, this not only in the songs but in many cultural ways in Mexico today. It can push people into this life, but at the same time, I think it's not a black or white. I saw a lot of people at the clubs that are nice people that are just looking to have fun time, and they go back to being who they are. They're really pretending to be this character for a night. So I can understand it at the same time. Well, sometimes getting money and people to come with me was hard. But no, you know, it was hard, it's scary. It was my first kind of big, full film. It is very long to make, but no, because as I was a photojournalist and I thought there was an amazing story here, and I started shooting it, and I really wanted to portray this feeling and show something of both on both sides of the border, and it was hard. Like any project like this is hard, but I've never really, no threat or no obstacle really made me doubt that I knew I wanted to make it and complete it and tell this story the best I can. No. I think it's going to change. Sure, between cities, between organization. Today Chapo is caught. Tomorrow, but if we don't change the bigger picture, the demand on one side, and the price, and change this industry, I think it's going to change, but it's going to stay horrible. It's going to stay this machine of people sitting in the U.S. in jail with so many involving. There's just too. It's like there's too much at stake, and if it's such a big business, and so many people are around it, there's always going to be this sad chain of death. I always tell people it seems so unreal, but the bodies are real, and people. It keeps going on and on like a machine, and that's how I felt for a couple of years covering it, like it's never ending. And I think in Schwarz today the situation is much better, but I think it's these changes, but somewhere else it's going to get worse if we don't legalize some drugs and change really the roots of the problem. I think it's going to stay the same, unfortunately.